third man for decades. It is mixed with technology and daring. Take the wheel of a high-powered machine. Press its performance past its design. Recognize, then almost ignore the dangers. Fight, win races, then championships. Then meet the best from all forms of the craft. Matched in equal cars in the four-part series that is the International Race of Champions. A pinnacle meeting of 12 of the best in racing. Today's lineup: Larry Lyondike, a native of Holland, representing the Indy cars. The 38-year-old is an IROC rookie. In 1990, he was on top of the world as the Indy 500 champion. Last year, he scored 2 IndyCar wins. Peter Halsmer is a 48-year-old road racer from Anaheim, California. This is his first IROC series. A Vietnam veteran, Pete is a longtime racer in Formula Ford, Super V, Indy cars, and IMSA GT competition. Last year, he captured his second IMSA GTO championship. 31-year-old Scott Pruitt races Indy cars. The California driver is in his 5th IROC series. His first invitations came from 2 championships in IMSA GTO. In 1987, he was the Trans Am champion. Now he drives the 2 Sports Indy cars. Last year, he won the IROC in Daytona. Floridian Hurley Haywood represents road racing in his 3rd IROC series. A veteran sports car competitor, he has twice won at both Le Mans and Sebring. A former 2-time GT champion, he is the IMSA Series reigning supercar champion. A record 5 times he's won the 24 Hours of Daytona. IROC rookie Davy Jones represents road racing. He's from Lake Tahoe. At age 27, Davy earned his invitation with versatility. He started racing in go-karts, twice a starter in Indy. Last year, he led the IMSA GT Series in wins. Alan Jr. represents the Indy cars. 29-year-old Little Al makes a record 7th consecutive series start. Twice he has taken the champion's crown. This year, he had the ride of a lifetime, winning the Indianapolis 500 in the closest finish in history to follow his family's legacy as the first second-generation winner at Indy. 35-year-old Rusty Wallace represents the Winston Cup stock cars. He's from Concord, North Carolina. Rusty was the ASA champion in 1983. He moved on to Winston Cup, where he was named Rookie of the Year. In '89, he was the series champion. Last year in IROC 15, he scored an unprecedented 3 straight wins to capture his first IROC crown at Watkins Glen. Stock car racer Harry Gant of Taylorsville, North Carolina, was the IROC champion in 1985. Last year, he courted national affection by winning 4 straight Winston Cup races at age 51. But for Harry, age is no factor as he starts his 3rd IROC series. Davey Allison of Hueytown, Alabama, is 4th in IROC points. His family name is Legend Racing. This year, he won the Daytona 500. He also was the winner of the Winston Invitational, which ended in a fiery crash. This crash at Pocono last month kept him out of the last IROC round. He'll miss this one as well. Road racer Jeff Brabham is from the IMSA Camel GT Series. A former Can-Am champion, Jeff last year became the first driver to capture 4 consecutive IMSA GT crowns. He won the last IROC round here at Michigan International. He races in his 4th IROC series. Winston Cup racer Ricky Rudd is from Lake Norman, North Carolina. In 1977, he was the Winston Cup Rookie of the Year. Now, he's an IROC rookie. Ricky earned his invitation by finishing 2nd to Dale Earnhardt in last year's stock car chase. Stock car driver Dale Earnhardt from Mooresville, North Carolina, is in his 8th series appearance. He took the Winston Cup Rookie honors and championship in consecutive years. Now he's logged 5 Winston Cup crowns. Dale was the IROC champion in 1990. 12 of the best that racing has to offer in equally prepared cars. It's the Dodge International Race of Champions. It's a giant crowd pouring into Michigan International Speedway for the International Race of Champions. Hello and welcome. I'm Paul Page, and today we determine the champion in IROC 16, and what a battle it is. Let's look at how the points are distributed, with 21 points going to the winner of each individual round. The real key at the end of the day could be those bonus points. Now, mathematically, right now, there are 6 drivers, more than half the field, that have a chance of taking the win in the whole series at the end of the day. But the focus is on 3 drivers: Dale Earnhardt, Ricky Rudd, and Jeff Brabham. They're at the top of the points order. Because of that, for the first time in IROC history, they will all three start today at the back of the field. They are the guys to watch. It's important to them because all three are doing poorly in their own disciplines of motorsports, and the IROC title could be critical to their careers. Now, Sam Posey, we're really looking at the closest fight in history.
Well, exactly. Dale Earnhardt leads Ricky Rudd by just a point and a half. Interestingly, Earnhardt and Rudd spent the latter part of last year deadlocked in a battle for the Winston Cup Championship, so they are used to being adversaries. Earnhardt, of course, came out on top last year, and he leads now in IROC. But his lead is so small it offers no cushion at all to him, and Earnhardt basically cannot allow Rudd to finish ahead of him. Both men have to watch out for Jeff Brabham, who won the last IROC race, which was also held here. Because if Brabham wins again and Earnhardt and Rudd finish badly, Brabham could snatch the championship.
The real key could be those bonus points. And for an update on that, let's go pit side to Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, those bonus points, as you said, so important. 5 points to the leader of the most laps, 3 to the second leader of the most laps, and 2 points to the leader of the third most laps. And for Dale Earnhardt, who's starting way in the back as you have, how do you keep track of those bonus points?
Well, you don't. You just go up there and try to lead some yourself and lead all you can. And if you can do that, you'll get the bonus points, hopefully win the championship.
Well, Ricky Rudd, normally in your Cup car, you'd be competing with a pit crew that could radio to you what the situation is. What are you going to do under these circumstances?
I'm going to carry me a calculator along, Jackie. That's about the only way you can keep track of it. I think the key is just to race up front, try to lead as many laps as you can, and go from there.
Now, the last time we competed in an IROC race, it was right at this very same racetrack. And the question, Bobby Unser, is will we see more of what we saw when we competed the last time here?
Well, yes and no, Jack. In the last race, the driver said the cars pushed really bad. So Jay Signori, the man who runs IROC, cut down the rear spoilers. Now, this lifting the cars up and has led to higher speed. What will stay the same, though, is that the emphasis will still be on the driver's ability to drive the cars in the turns rather than in the draft, which was the secret at Daytona and Talladega. And here at Michigan, the straightaways are shorter and the turns are tighter. The drivers have to back off in the turns, which helps to equalize things between the Winston Cup drivers and the road racers. The last race here was a runaway for Jeff Brabham, but I can almost promise you that won't happen here today.
And what are these men competing for? The series title and $175,000 to first place. All right, here's the way they line up for the last round of the International Race of Champions. And the yellow car from the Indy cars is Arie Luyendyk in the front row. Peter Halsmer from Road Racing in the bright orange car alongside. Row 2, IndyCar driver Scott Pruitt in the lime car. And Hurley Haywood in the white car from Road Racing. The third row, Davy Jones from Road Racing in the silver car. And Al Unser Jr., the IndyCar driver in the red machine. Row 4, NASCAR driver Rusty Wallace, the gold car. Harry Gant from NASCAR in the powder blue car. In the fifth row, it is Jeff Brabham from Road Racing, the rose-colored car, and Ricky Rudd from NASCAR, the bright blue car. Alone in the last row, Dale Earnhardt, the orange car. And this is the camera on top of Dale's car. We, of course, are going to focus on the battle for the championship, and we will use this camera in the last row to do so. That rose-colored car, that's Jeff Brabham. We'll keep an eye on him. Ricky Rudd, the blue car, is just ahead. You take a look back now from the top of Jeff Brabham's car. And this is where, in the opening laps, we'll focus on the battle. You ride on board with Ricky Rudd, and we are ready. As the run for the championship is underway, you ride with Dale Earnhardt. The green flag already out well ahead as he comes across the stripe, and they thunder for turn 1. Earnhardt now with some distance to make up as they're into the high banks, and he comes down to the inside trying to find a little help from Ricky Rudd. Now Earnhardt working the low groove, comes alongside of Haywood. Running down the backstretch now, Earnhardt already moving up using that low groove, and it's working for him as he drops in behind Davy Jones. Rusty Wallace has picked up a position or two as well. Now working the low groove, Jones and Wallace hook up. That's Arie Luyendyk in the bright yellow car running in front. Al Unser Jr. runs in second place in the red car.
Paul, Dale Earnhardt has come all the way from last to 5th place in 1 lap. Now, that's really moving.
So Earnhardt doing exactly what he needs to do if he is to come away with a championship that could be so significant in this year. Moving up through the field, now challenging Jones as we take a look at the front of the field. Arie Luyendyk is in front, followed by Allenser Jr., Rusty Wallace, Davy Jones, and then Dale Earnhardt. The lime green car is Scott Pruitt. There is Earnhardt, looking very strong here already on the second lap as he carves his way through the field.
Earnhardt is driving a very different race than he did here when they last held an IROC race. A much more aggressive race. He seems to have been able to move up with much more confidence.
Well, you can watch as he came off that number 4 turn. He lost a little bit in the turn. We're on board now with Ricky Rudd.
Just ahead is Harry Gant, as again they storm through the first turn.
Rudd, of course, has his eyes on Earnhardt, the orange car off to the left of Rudd's windshield there. He knows he has got to move up or the championship is going to go to Earnhardt.
Yeah, look way ahead there, Sam. That's where he's got to get to Earnhardt because that's where his competition is right now.
Allenser Jr. now in front of the field as Luyendyk got out of line, and boy, that cost you here. Remember, once again, as Bobby Unser suggested at starting, they've added some skirts and lowered the rear spoilers, and these cars should be much more raceable as Earnhardt comes alongside Luyendyk and Pruitt, 2 IndyCar drivers, and is looking for any racing room that he can find. But it doesn't work. Earnhardt has to get back in the line. So out in front is Al Unser Jr. now with Rusty Wallace and Davy Jones just behind him. How did little Al get up to the front of the field? Luyendyk had the first place. Here's the view just a few moments ago. And what they really did was took advantage of 3 cars running together and Luyendyk running alone. And little Al came inside, and Rusty and Davy decided that was a good place to run, too. And look at Rusty help little Al. Nothing changes at the front of the field. Trying to work down low is Ricky Rudd with Haywood behind him. And now he comes up alongside Earnhardt, and they begin to battle. Looking out the window of Ricky Rudd's car.
You know, the key to Jeff Brabham's success here 2 weeks ago was that he really babysat that right front tire, kept it from overheating, kept it from wearing down too much, and you can be pretty sure that that is what everyone is thinking now. Keep those tires in good shape, Bobby.
Yeah, well, it's so important to save them. In the middle of the turns right here, the cars really get a lot of stress on them, and the tires, when they wear down just a little bit, they don't get a hold of the pavement quite as good. And you can't see the difference on the tires because they're ball tires when you start, Tim.
Allenser Jr. has the lead of the race, but the battle for the championship focuses on 6th place. Dale Earnhardt and Ricky Rudd. Back before a giant crowd at Michigan International, the run for the championship and the $175,000 first prize. Now, following Dale Earnhardt is Ricky Rudd, car number 2. You look out the front window. He's doing everything he can to try and get by Earnhardt. He must do that if he wants to win this championship at all.
So far, the bonus points for leading the race are all going to Al Unser Jr. It's not part of the championship situation between these 2 men right now. Rudd probably has Earnhardt right where he wants him right now, in his sights at least.
And Sam, keep in mind that the deal right now is between Rudd and Earnhardt, and neither one of them are leading, so they don't each have to worry about the leading points. Little Al, of course, it isn't going to help him at all to lead the points, but it does help him to lead the race because he's taking better care of his tires.
Look back to 5th and 6th. That's Earnhardt and Rudd, as Al Unser Jr., Rusty Wallace, and Scott Pruitt have separated themselves from Davy Jones. And now, with Earnhardt moving around Davy Jones, Ricky Rudd is looking for any chance he has to hook on to Earnhardt.
One thing you see is the rear ends of these cars are really moving around, particularly as they reach the halfway point through the turns. The cars are pretty loose. They look really tough to drive, and we might expect some really interesting stuff going on here.
Right now, you watch, there's Ricky Rudd down the bottom. Dale Earnhardt's in the orange car right up ahead. They're leading that little camera shot right there. Now, that's the contest. Ricky Rudd has not been able to pass that silver car. He needs to do that because right now, Dale Earnhardt, the yellow or the orange car, could be getting away.
So 2 road racers and 2 Winston Cup stock car drivers have teamed up. A surprising combination when you think about it. Earnhardt, Davy Jones, Ricky Rudd, and Hurley Haywood all running together. Now here comes Rudd making a move, again trying to get back into that championship battle, which is now running at 5th place in this field, and Harry Gant moves in there. So this could be some help.
Yes, it could, and you notice the Rudd who went right to the outside, and so did Gant because they knew exactly where Earnhardt would go.
Looking back to Harry Gant's car from the rear bumper of Ricky Rudd's machine. We talked about Jay Signori, the head of the IROC, who helps put all these cars together, and the slight changes he's made. Bobby Unser, it looks like it's helped in this race.
Yes, and one little change they made we forgot to mention is they changed the Panhard bar in the rear end. That's a little bit slight adjustment to the rear end. And the cars right now are really looking like they're handling good.
Well, with more dynamic changes, here's Jack Arute pit side.
Well, there's two major changes since these cars were competing here at MIS the last time. The IROC mechanics have reduced the spoiler in the back by 1 inch. That's freed the car up. And also because they're running in conjunction with a NASCAR race, they've had to run this little side skirt to keep air from getting underneath the car and lifting it off the ground should it get sideways. Drivers report that the cars are much improved. In fact, they've loosened up and more to their liking.
The lead group is still made up of Al Unser Jr., Rusty Wallace, and Scott Pruitt, and it is not far back to that second group, which is so crucial to this championship. And the championship right now, of course, because of his position ahead of Rudd, belongs to Earnhardt. Jeff Brabham has not proven to be a factor in this thus far. There's the first group, there's the second group, and there is the fight for the championship.
Well, they're very close in that second group, and Earnhardt and Rudd right there of being out of the draft from the front group. Now, drafting doesn't allow passing here, but it all helps a little bit. Let you close up to the guy. Now, if they break the draft, of course, there's no chance of them ever getting caught up again and winning the race.
Well, Bobby, the reason we were talking about it's tough to make a pass with the draft. You see, the opportunity presents itself here with Rudd right behind Earnhardt. But the straights here at Michigan are very short, the turns very, very long. And by the time you get a draft going, you've arrived in the next turn, and it's back to cornering again.
Now, what Ricky Rudd is doing right here is he's pushing Earnhardt because they know together that they, again, have to get caught up with that first group.
Ricky Rudd with his bumper right up on the back end of Dale Earnhardt. An ongoing battle. There you look at Dale for 4th place. Right now, if the race were to finish, this man would be the champion. Back at Michigan International, lap 17, just coming to completion, 50 laps of scheduled distance. And Al Unser Jr., that bright red car, is still leading Rusty Wallace and Scott Pruitt. But look at Dale Earnhardt, Ricky Rudd, and Harry Gant. They've closed up on the lead group now, and so we have 6 cars all working the draft together.
Al Unser Jr. has a special affinity for this racetrack because it was here just a few years ago in an IROC race that he won his first ever professional race on an oval.
But Jeff Brabham, no factor at all, running well back in the field. Too bad he had a chance going in, and that changes the complexion. Look how far back Jeff Brabham is from the rest of the field. Now, if the race were to finish, Earnhardt would be the winner in the championship. Ricky Rudd second, and Al Unser Jr. has crept up into 3rd place.
Yes, and you know, right there, those two guys, Ricky Rudd and Earnhardt. Now, Rudd is pushing him, and everybody might wonder, why isn't he passing him? The fact is he can't pass him, and Earnhardt's car is obviously just a little bit slow, so Rudd has to push him by those other guys. Otherwise, there's going to be no race between the two.
Rudd came out to the outside alongside Earnhardt and then fought the wheel quite a bit. Doesn't look like good territory for him to run.
No, it certainly isn't. He's been pushing. You watch that Rudd. His engine is going to be getting hot. He is running so close to Dale Earnhardt that he just doesn't get any fresh air to the radiator, Paul. But look how far he's got to go. Now, those two guys, in order to win this race, they have to help each other. And they've teamed up since the very first lap.
There again is the battle for the championship. At the moment, they work together, Earnhardt and Ricky Rudd. That seems to be the scenario they must play if they are going to stay at the front of the field. But the question is, when does this little spirit of cooperation go away? In the closing laps, they can't be helping one another.
Well, there's no question that for this situation for Rudd is like dancing with a cobra. I mean, it's a very dangerous thing to be playing with Dale Earnhardt, and Earnhardt knows it's dangerous to be playing with Ricky Rudd. But at the moment, they're better off racing together than apart.
That's right, and you know, Dale's car is probably down the straightaways about 5 miles an hour slow. Every time the Rudd bumps him, that's probably like about 20 horsepower. And right now, they really need it because if Earnhardt was by himself, he would slowly be falling back because he's lacking just a snitch in the engine department.
Were Earnhardt to manage to win this championship, you see him there through Ricky Rudd's windshield, he would have a 2nd IROC championship, and only 2 other men before him have won IROC championship, A.J. Foyt and Al Unser Jr.
Going to the top of Dale Earnhardt's car, camera rides right along at the top top of it, and you can see from that shot, there it is, that's Scott Pruitt just ahead, then Wallace, then the leader, Al Unser Jr. So Earnhardt is fully tacked onto the lead group now. And there he is, Dale Earnhardt, looking for another IROC crown, a 5-time Winston Cup champion. Let's take a little closer look.
5-time Winston Cup champion Dale Earnhardt rolls into Michigan International Speedway with another championship in mind. He looks to add a second IROC title to the one he won in 1990. Earnhardt says despite all of his success in Winston Cup, his IROC prowess holds a special place.
I think pretty much to winning that Winston Cup championship, really, you think about it, and it's a series that you may get a good car, you may get a bad car, you might get a break, you might not get a break, somebody might wreck in front of you, getting a wreck, getting involved. There's a lot of ifs, but it's just like any other racing. But the thing about it is they're all champions, and they're all winning drivers of different aspects in road racing, IndyCar racing, NASCAR, and you're racing pretty much the cream of the crop. And you beat those guys and win the series, it's pretty exciting. Win one of the races is enough.
The Dale Earnhardt of today is a different man than the brash youngster who burst upon the NASCAR scene in the early 1980s.
You get in a car that is good and with a team that is good, and you go out and you win, and you're pretty rough on the edges. You know, you go in there and 3 wide and under somebody at the wrong time or whatever, and rub and get by them and go on. And after the years and after the races you get into, you mellow out and you learn how close to the edge you can get without going over, and that just comes with experience.
Earnhardt's love of the sport is almost tangible. It is, according to him, everything.
I enjoy all types of racing. F1 really intrigues me. Nigel Mansell's pretty much my hero in that division, and I watch those guys race when I'm not racing myself, and I something on TV like that, and I watch those guys race, and you see their pattern of driving, and you sort of pick out the guy that you enjoy watching the most, and Nigel's there, and Al Jr.'s in IndyCar, and just go from there.
While Dale Earnhardt may have heroes of his own, he remains a hero to many, continuing on his road to success.
So Dale Earnhardt, chased by Ricky Rudd. Al Unser Jr. leads the run, but this is the battle for the IROC championship, and it's a great one. Back at the Michigan International Speedway as Harry Gant comes down inside of Ricky Rudd and makes a move on him. This could be critical to the finish of this race because Gant is feeling very racy right now. And if he gets up and intervenes between Rudd and Earnhardt, he could be a factor in the championship.
No, he couldn't do it. The race is getting good right there, but you notice Earnhardt and Rudd, how far they split apart as soon as Gant got into it. That shows you sometimes why the guys don't try to pass sometimes during the race. It's a strategy that they have because, as you saw, they fell back or fell apart right away.
Just past the halfway point now in the 50-lap run, which is now a sprint to the championship, the International Race of Champions, number 16.
Well, we talk about this battle for the championship between Rudd and Earnhardt chiefly. What's at stake, really? You saw the graphic. It's a $110,000 difference between first place in this championship and second place in this championship. That's a lot of pocket money.
Hey, these guys race for a living, Sam. That's a whole bunch of money. That's what their whole life is about.
From time to time, Bobby Unser, Ricky Rudd will dart out left and right. Is he looking for a chance to pass, or is he just interested in cooling his engine? Look at him bump Earnhardt there.
Now, what he's doing, that's about a 5-mile-an-hour gain right there, but what he's doing is he's looking for cooler air to his engine. Like right now, he's got to back off a little bit in the turns, otherwise he would spin Earnhardt out. But when you see him pull off in the straightaways, he hasn't attempted to pass on Earnhardt yet. He's just cooling his engine down.
Let's go on board, take a look at some of the instrumentation on Ricky Rudd's car. Look at the tachometer over there to the left. Down the backstretch, 7,000 RPM. Then it'll trail off down to about 62 in the corner.
He's got up to about 7,400 there. Now, on the front straightaway, they'll run even a little bit faster than that. They should be getting up around 7,600 on the front straightaway.
You see him trying to coax the car through that turn. That's where they talk about the push coming in, right in the middle of the turn. Jim Sauter, who tests these cars for Jason Urey, was telling me this morning that the front end seems to almost float as you head into the turn and wants to push out toward the wall.
We've talked about the necessity of saving tires. We asked Ricky Rudd, how do you do that in the middle of a fight?
Pretty much what I do is just run a higher arc, run as wide as I can in the corner, not pinch the car real tight with the steering angle, not turn it to the bottom, and just kind of keep the widest amount of steering angle you can in the car so you don't abuse the right front tire until you get into the final stages of the race, maybe the last 5 or 6 laps, and then really lean on it hard. Hopefully you'll be in a position close to the front with good tires on the car, and then you can go race.
Remember, the right side tires are the ones that give up the first, and the weakest link, which usually is the right front, is the one that goes first.
The lead group again being caught by that second group. There's Rusty Wallace, that nice gold car, as he runs sandwiched between IndyCar drivers Scott Pruitt and Al Unser Jr. Little Al, the red car at the front.
Well, Little Al was complaining at the end of the last race that none of the Winston Cup men would draft with him. So he's embarked on a different strategy. He'll just lead the race and ignore the rest of it.
You take a look back behind the first 3, 4th and 5th. The battle for the championship, Earnhardt and Rudd. Harry Gant lined up just behind them, but at the moment not really a factor.
You know, if I were to think about Little Al's position, I would have to think that he likes having Rusty Wallace back there. Guy that runs as many super speedway races as anybody in the whole United States. Rusty Wallace right there in that gold car. That makes Little Al feel good because there'll be no stupid things done from that guy.
And it means a good protective barrier for Little Al as well.
Well, of course, Rusty Wallace has won 20 Winston Cup races, and he was the 1989 national champion. The best he's done this year, he's got a second and a third. He would really like to taste victory here at Michigan.
Back at Michigan International Speedway, again, Harry Gant comes to the inside as they come across the stripe to pull up alongside of Ricky Rudd. That's Peter Halsmer just behind Harry Gant. And, of course, in front is Ricky Rudd and Dale Earnhardt.
You know, Peter Halsmer, Paul, is not doing right. If he would have stayed right behind, taken Gant, bumped him a little bit, he not only would have helped Gant get by, but he would have brought himself by also. Teamwork is more important right now than he can possibly imagine. Now, there he's helping a little bit.
Maybe he heard
late.
you. As Halsmer comes into the back of Harry Gant, tries to help him. But look at Gant as he comes up in front of Ricky Rudd, and that will be a definite help once again to Earnhardt. But they played this same scenario about 4 laps ago, and then they went right back to the static position they were running in.
But
on board Ricky Rudd now, Gant just ahead.
Yeah, and did you watch Gant? Just as soon as he got the help from Halsmer, he just stuck right in the line, left Halsmer laying out there, nothing he could do.
With the race more than half over, Al Unser Jr. has led so many laps that there will be no bonus points awarded that will be significant in the outcome of the championship. What does count is where these two contenders, Earnhardt and Rudd, are running overall, because the difference in points between 3rd and 4th place is 2 points. 14 points for 3rd, 12 points for 2nd. And if they're running up that far, then whether or not Earnhardt or Rudd is leading is a very key factor.
Championship right now is fairly simple. Earnhardt has it just by the fact that he is running well in front of Rudd. And Harry Gant separates the two now.
But to finish that thought, if Rudd gets ahead of Earnhardt and they're running for 3rd place or better, then that 1.5 lead that Earnhardt enjoys over Rudd will be wiped out.
15 laps left to go.
And if you notice right there, Dale Earnhardt, with Gant right behind him, he isn't getting the help from Gant. You know, he's going to try a pass on him here.
No, Rudd breaks it off. I thought he was going with Gant, but he broke it off.
The thing about it is, without the help that he was getting from Rudd, Earnhardt is falling back, and that's what's dangerous for him.
Wow.
Ricky Rudd comes up again to attach himself to the back end of Earnhardt, leaves Gant out in the cold as Gant drops in behind Ricky Rudd.
Now, Earnhardt teamed up. Earnhardt moved over in front of Rudd so he could help him get by. He would rather have him as a teammate than he would Gant. Now, that's for sure.
Gant, at 52 years old, is the Winston Cup's oldest driver.
So Ricky Rudd now just behind Earnhardt once again.
Now watch him bump him again. You see, Gant wouldn't do this. So watch Rudd bumping Earnhardt. Now, Earnhardt likes this, so he's helping him be his teammate, not helping Gant.
It's hard to believe that bumping one another at 150 miles an hour is helpful. Let's check on that. Here's Jack.
We've seen some bumping here at MIS during this IROC race, and there's several reasons for it. First and foremost, it's used as a signaling device for the driver behind another car to let that driver know that he's right there. The other situation is something that they discovered in competition, is what's called the bump draft. If a driver bumps a car while he's in the draft, both cars tend to pick up just a little bit more speed than if they simply ran nose to tail.
Al Unser Jr. still leads the race. There he is in the red car, followed by Rusty Wallace and Scott Pruitt. There's little Al.
If Rudd is able to pass, here goes Earnhardt past Pruitt. Now, if Rudd is able to pass Earnhardt, he will take the lead in the championship. If Rudd can pass Earnhardt, they're placed high enough in the overall standings.
But you'd watch Earnhardt, who jumped the car ahead of Rudd. Rudd is in the dark blue car. Now, all of a sudden, it's towards the latter part of the race. He's going to quit helping Ricky Rudd pretty soon.
Well, Ricky Rudd just got some help from Harry Gant, and it managed to keep him in contact with Dale Earnhardt. So they're continuing to move up. The championship fight is right there, running in third place. It's Earnhardt. Here comes Ricky Rudd again. Again, he's getting a little help from Gant. Perhaps Gant is saying, well, maybe I can't take the championship, but I can help the Winston Cup NASCAR drivers do it. So I'll continue in this fight. But look at Scott Pruitt as he and Peter Halsmer do their best to keep Gant running in the low groove. So Ricky Rudd started out, took a look at Earnhardt, and continues to stay just behind him. They now run third and fourth. The Dodge Daytonas scream past a fantastic crowd here at Michigan International Speedway. Watching this battle for the championship, you ride with Ricky Rudd. In front of him is Dale Earnhardt. In those two is embodied that fight for the championship. But there's other history in the making here. If Earnhardt can win his championship, that will be 2 for him. If that man in the red car, Al Unser Jr., who leads this race and continues to lead to the checkered flag, he will score 6 IROC wins, which eclipses Cale Yarborough with 5 for the most ever. So quite a bit of action developing on the high banks here at Michigan. It's obvious that racing on a high bank super speedway can be quite dangerous, but these Dodge Daytonas are remarkably safe due to a lot of work put into these cars for their safety. Here's Jack Arute.
Last year at the Talladega Super Speedway, we witnessed a terrible crash involving Dorsey Schrader. As the car was traveling down the backstretch at over 185 miles an hour, it began to flip violently side over side, literally disintegrating as it dug into the dirt. Many were concerned as to the eventual condition of Dorsey Schrader, but none were surprised when the dust had settled and Schrader literally walked away. Now, there's a reason why Schrader was so well protected in the IROC car, and it starts with this safety feature, a webbed netting that keeps the driver's head and arms restrained inside the car, especially during a crash. Add other quick safety features, such as a detachable steering wheel, an onboard fire extinguisher, extensive padding which protects him. But more important than anything is over 200 feet of tubing, which is welded around the driver, creating what's known as a safety cage. That cage is attached directly to the frame rails of a car, and during the course of an accident, the energy that is generated is absorbed to a certain degree by the cage itself. Now, a seat is attached to this cage, and it's not here in the car right now. But if the cage moves, so does the seat. Let's take a look at a seat and the system there. Each seat is designed specifically for the driver to afford him with rib protection and leg protection. But the most important element is this 5-point nylon restraint system that keeps the driver firmly planted in the seat, whether he's going 200 miles an hour or spinning violently down the backstretch. A derivative of that restraint system exists in every single passenger car on the road. It's known simply as a seat belt and a shoulder harness. And after watching a crash like Dorsey Schrader's, it's reason enough to buckle up for safety.
7 laps to go. Rusty Wallace just ahead. He now could replace Gant as the factor in determining who the champion will be.
It's obvious that Earnhardt cannot do this by himself without Gant all during this race. That's been the whole secret, so he needs Gant to keep pushing him, otherwise both of them are going to stay back.
Ricky Rudd needs one right move, probably on the last lap, to get by Dale Earnhardt. Bobby, what do you think? My impression is that Rudd seems to have more speed on tap than Earnhardt. Or is it just because he's driving in his draft? No, here it comes.
Look at Ricky Rudd as he's going to make a try. He comes to the inside. Scott Pruitt comes with him to give him a little help. And Ricky Rudd moves into the championship position. Pruitt gets by as well. And Earnhardt has to slide in behind Pruitt, though he continues to work the high side. There are 6 laps left. Look at them come up and get close together, if not touching.
Now, that's the thing that Sam just brought up. Excuse me, the thing that's going to happen, and that is the thing that happened. Rudd went for it. He just knew that it was time, and he went for it, got by Earnhardt. Earnhardt doesn't have the power to keep up. Scott Pruitt was the guy that changed everything right there.
The tires usually have about 4 to 5 really hot laps left in them. And obviously, Rudd is deciding to play his trump card right now. The fact that he managed to get Pruitt between him and Earnhardt is nothing but a bonus. Watch it as it happens.
This was the pass just a few laps ago. Pruitt comes out, picks up the back end of Rudd's car. Nice long vacuum. That helps them both.
Right there, and he even went over close to Earnhardt and got a little bit more of a draft off Earnhardt. That's Rudd in the green car. And that was the turning point right there. Look at the smoke come off the right rear tire between the two. They touched even a little bit.
Earnhardt still trying to stay attached to Scott Pruitt. But Ricky Rudd and Pruitt are definitely pulling away. But here comes Harry Gant. Will he come up and help Earnhardt now?
Scott Pruitt was the big change right there in the front end or in the championship for right now.
We would have thought that one of the Winston Cup drivers might have been the factor to help either Rudd or Earnhardt, but at the moment it looks like Scott Pruitt was the key factor. 3.5 laps left in the International Race of Champions, the final round of IROC 16. And a great fight it is as Ricky Rudd has now, with the help of Scott Pruitt, moved into 3rd place. And Dale Earnhardt sits in 5th place. As a result, Ricky Rudd has moved into the championship position.
Remember that Ricky Rudd told Jack Arute at the beginning of the show, I'm going to need a calculator to figure this all out from the cockpit. He does not need a calculator as long as he is ahead of Dale Earnhardt, and they're both placed this well. Nor does Dale Earnhardt need to know anything more than he has got to get back ahead of Ricky Rudd if he's going to win this championship.
Earnhardt just barely in contact now, but Harry Gant comes up to help with 2.5 laps to go.
And Harry Gant just doesn't help Earnhardt as much as Ricky Rudd did. But remember, we always said if it gets near the end of the race, it's every man for himself. Ricky Rudd teamed up with Scott Pruitt, or Scott Pruitt's teamed up with Ricky Rudd, really. That's the blue car, and the lime car there is Scott Pruitt. That's the thing that put Earnhardt back. Without somebody to help him, Earnhardt's not going to catch back up.
The interesting thing is that the Winston Cup guys, who used to have this kind of action all to themselves as the end of the race came upon them, now have people like Pruitt and Al Unser Jr. that can draft and run with them. Now, become kind of a wild card situation.
And Sam, just in case anybody's wondering about Ricky Rudd now, he won't try another pass on Rusty Wallace. He has the championship where he's setting, and as long as Dale Earnhardt is back and not pushing him, he's going to set and let well enough be.
But you know what? Earnhardt has been holding back a little. If he has anything, I don't know if he has anything, cooling his tires a little bit. I don't think we've seen the last from Dale Earnhardt.
There goes Rusty Wallace as he looks for the lead, and Rusty Wallace moves out in front, but Little Al comes back as they are taking a look at the white flag indicating one more lap to go. Rusty Wallace battling with Al Unser Jr., and Ricky Rudd is right in there pushing him. I would think that would be a little too risky at this point, but look at Ricky Rudd. He wants not only the championship, he wants to win this race.
Well, that ruined my prediction all the heck, Paul, because Ricky Rudd has the championship won, and he's still trying to win the race.
Remember, this is Ricky Rudd's first ever IROC series. He just wanted to get into the series. Then he said he was thrilled to be a championship contender. Now it looks as if he may win the championship as he and Little Al go neck and neck down the back straight.
The rookie IROC racer Ricky Rudd battles with Al Unser Jr. as they go into the final 2 turns. Rusty Wallace battles with Scott Pruitt. Earnhardt not a factor in the championship at this point. They come off the final corner and scream for the line. Ricky Rudd looking for racing room down low as he challenges Al Unser Jr., but Al Unser Jr. takes the win and Ricky Rudd takes the championship.
Boy, that was a good race, and my hat off to Ricky Rudd, who never quit trying, even though he had the championship won many laps back.
You see the discouragement on the face of Dale Earnhardt. Nobody to talk to. There's no radio there. There's Ricky Rudd, who has just won himself an IROC championship in his debut in IROC. What a performance.
And did it with real style.
A luck of the draw, I think, going against Earnhardt. His car never really seemed to be able to pull. Ricky Rudd looked nice and strong. Al Unser Jr. wins the race with the strongest car out there. When we come back, we'll talk with both the new champion and the new race winner as IROC number 16 now goes into the history book. Another great season of the International Race of Champions. So Ricky Rudd pulls into winner's circle to take the crown in the International Race of Champions. How does he do it? Al Unser Jr. wins the race, but Ricky Rudd finishes ahead of Dale Earnhardt and thereby takes the championship. They're both with Jack Arute.
Congratulations, Al. First of all, you finally got one this year.
Yeah, finally. You know, I just want to thank Dodge Daytona and Goodyear Tire and everybody. They did great. It was a lot of fun, and we finally got one. Yep, it's been a long time.
Probably more importantly, though, Ricky Rudd, a rookie in the IROC series, and you come home the champion. What was going through your mind, though? Were you using the calculator?
Well, I didn't have one. I didn't have time to push the buttons, but only button we could push was the one on the floorboard. My biggest goal, I started the race, I said, oh no, this car is severe loose. Well, the more I ran, the car tightened itself up a little bit. And the biggest goal I had was to keep Earnhardt right there in sight. And then right at the end, I got a run at him off the corner. I let him run. I let him set the pace. And I had a little bit more car, it seemed like, at the end. He run his tires a little bit harder. I saw the opportunity. Scott Pruitt went with me. We dove to the inside and got by Earnhardt. And then from then on, it was just the end of the race. I didn't expect it to be as close as it was. I was wanting to win the championship, and I almost won the race, too. So,
what does this championship mean to you?
I tell you, it's just, you know, first of all, just it was a dream to ever be in this series. And then to be able to be in the series the first time and win the championship, can't put it into words. You really can't.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So Ricky Rudd, congratulations for his championship. The second driver in IROC history to win the IROC championship without winning a race. The last driver was the great A.J. Foyt. There's the points. That's the way they finished the IROC series. And Ricky Rudd comes home the champion, and with that, the $175,000 first prize as we look down through the rest of the money distribution. A special thanks to the IROC drivers and the fine team that put those Dodge Daytonas together and make them so very raceable. Well, the ABC racing season now comes to an end, and what a great year it's been. From the battles of the IROC, the Winston Cup Atlanta, Al Unser's victory at Indianapolis, and of course the key IndyCar races. We hope you've enjoyed these events as much as we have enjoyed bringing them to you. We at ABC love racing. We'll be back next year. I'm Paul Page for Sam Posey, Bobby Unser, and Jack Arute. So long from Michigan International Speedway.